Good evening. In this presentation, me and my co-partner Nirali Davi are discuss about translation and literary history and Indian view. This article is written by Ganesh Dev. Ganesh Dev. Here is our academic information. First, we are discuss about introduction of author, abstract, the origin, role of translation, key arguments, analysis, and conclusion. First, I will discuss about abstract of this article. This article is taken from post-colonial translation theory and practice. Translation and literary history and Indian view by Ganesh Devi. Ganesh Dev explore the intricate relationship between translation, literary history, and the cultural context of India. The article develops into the Western metaphysical perspective on translation, highlighting the challenges it poses to understanding literary traditions. Uh, uh, Ganesh Dev discusses the vital role translation plays in the evolution of literary movements across linguistic borders. Uh, emphasizing its significance in shaping Indian English language and other global literary traditions. The abstract sets the stage for an in-depth analysis of the aesthetic and complexities of literary transition in the context of Indian metaphysics. Here is some key points that discussing in this article. Like many literary traditions originate in translation Anglo-Irish, Indian English, settler colonies, literary history in translation, Roman Jacobson's language is a system of sign, translating consciousness in India. J.C. Catford, linguistic of translation, the problem in translation study. First, we are discuss about the author Ganesh Dev. Full name Ganesh Narayan Das Dev. He is a distinguished Indian critic, thinker, educator, and activist. He is a professor. Professor of English at Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. Here is some publications like in author tongue of many heroes, books like The Critic Within Knowledge and Education in India. Now we are now we are discuss about the origin of translation study. According to Hillis Miller, translation is a wandering existence of a text in a perpetual exile. Christian myth of the fail, exile, and wandering. A Christian myth post by Bible crisis. In a Western metaphysics, translation is an exile, fall from the origin. Mythical exile is a metaphoric translation, uh, a post-Bible crisis. No critic has taken any well-defined position about the extent, placement of translations in literary history. Now we are discuss the role of translation in a literary context. Translations of Bible, revolutionary event in the history of English style. Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, translating style of Boccaccio. Dryden and Pope used the tool of translation to recover the sense of order. A role of translation during last 2 century. Indian English language ideological activity of translation during late 18th and 19th century. Since translation are perceiving as a unoriginal, not much thought has been devoted as a aesthetic of translation. Issues related form and meaning haven't been settled in a relation to translation. Do they have belong to the history of T language or S language? T language means target language, and S language means source language. Uh, do they form in a independent tradition all by themselves? Uh, this this uh, this Hyper's activity devoted too much energy discussing problems of the conveying the original meaning in the altered structures. In a further discussion of the article, I would like to call my co-partner Nirali Davi.
Good noon to all of you. For the further presentation, I'm dealing with the key arguments. Roman Jacobson. Roman Jacobson is in his work essay "Linguistic of Translation." In this essay, he mentioned the threefold classification of translation. First one is those from one verbal order to another verbal order within the same language system, and second one, those from one language system to another language system. Third one, those from a verbal of order to another system of signs. And the second one is Chomsky. Chomsky's linguistic framework emphasize semantic universal but pushes the limits of Saussurean linguistic materialism in translation. And in the translation, SL and TL are seen as a part of broader spectrums and challenging sorry, structuralism views. In the West, struggles with synonymy due to the lack of recognition of non-systematic elements and the absence of the multilingual perspective leads to an and the synonymy in Western translation thoughts. uh, Jesse Catford, in his work, the book A Linguistic Theory of Translation. In this book, he provides a comprehensive theoretical framework for the linguistic of translation, and he said that translation is an operation performed on language, a process of substituting a text in one language for a text and in the another language. And he clearly said that any theory of translation must drawn upon a theory of language and a general linguistic theory. In this work, he is considered foundational in linguistic translation of theory. He emphasized the systematic nature of translation and seeking to break it down into manageable units and processes. In his work, his approach raises questions about the role of cultural and historical context in shaping translation choices. And he also argued that understanding translation requires a strong foundation in linguistic. He proposed basing translation theory on broader linguistic principles. Non-isolated from general language study. And he also identifies different level of translation requiring substitutions at the various linguistic units. He acknowledged the link between linguistic and anthropology, particularly in the post Durkheim and Levi Strauss. Catford critiqued that the Eurocentric view of knowledge, well, fields like Orientalism and anthropology were assigned to non-European studies. Analysis. During the 19th century, Europe had distributed various fields of humanistic knowledge into the threefold hierarchies. First one is a comparative study for Europe, second one is orientation for the Orient, and the third one is anthropology for the rest of the world. After the discovery of Sanskrit by Sir William Jones in his historical linguistics in Europe depends heavily on Orientalism. And after the Saussure and the Levi-Strauss, linguistics started treating language with an anthropological curiosity. The problems in translation study. Translation involves aesthetics and ideology, and it is also influencing literary history. It is not just copying a text. It's about reproducing an ordered subsystem of sign in a related language. Translation doesn't transpose meaning, but the original work maintains its position also. The goal is to revitalize the original in a new verbal and temporal context. Translation both approximate and transcend the original, akin to how literary text endure throughout the deserved period and the style. They are the problem on the relationship between origins and sequentiality, and the translation study. It is a literary history. The problem of origin has not been tracked satisfactory, and the point that needs to be made, it has probably the question of origins and the literary tradition will have to be viewed differently by literary communities with translating consciousness. Indian literary communities exemplified by figure like Jaidev, Hemchandracharya, Michel Madhusudan Dutt, and H.N. Apte, and also Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. They are all showcase translating of consciousness. The foundation of modern Indian literatures was laid through acts of translation, highlighting the vital role of translation in shaping literary traditions. In the conclusion, comparative literature means that there are religions of significance that are shared across two related languages, as well as areas of significance that can never be shared. When the soul passes from one body to another body, it does not lose any of its essential significance. Indian philosophies of the relationship between form and essence, structure and significance are guided by this metaphysics. In the Christian myth, the myths of fall, exile from the paradise, and the paradise move to post Babel. In the in this line suggests the rebirth of the and the rebirth is the journey of soul. The trust test is the writer's capacity to transform, to translate, to restate, to revitalize, revitalize and the original. And in that sense, Indian literary traditions are essentially traditional of translation. These are the references. Thank you.
Nancy, what role does translation play in comparative literature?
Translation play a very vital role in our history. Uh, in a comparative literature, it is very important to compare your same language in the same style in literature. But many language is some limitation, so we cannot compare with other language and other other literature. So the translation is play an important role in comparative literature.
Generally, what is the significance of the historical connections between Orientalism, Sanskrit, and linguistics in Europe?
The Orientalism and Sanskrit and linguistics are played a vital role in the Europe, and these three are also shaping